Is lesson 4 of our investigation, our geographical investigation into migration and diversity at Preston Manor. So you have a booklet like this, possibly, or you have a digital version, as most of you do. And we're going to get into pretty much the hardest part of our investigation now. Now, I will say that what we're doing today is analysing data. This is an essential skill for you to learn because it is so useful, not just in geography, not just in maths, not just in science, but in your day-to-day life. When you get jobs, it's one of those essential skills that people are looking for. So we're going to be analysing data today. This is something that you may not be very familiar with. It might take you a little bit of extra time. And because of that, we've decided to split up lesson 4 into 2 parts. We're going to split it into looking at your secondary data and how to analyse, manipulate that and come up with some answers. And we're going to look separately in your second lesson this week at your own primary data, which you have collected by sending out that questionnaire. And let's get straight on with it. So this is the PowerPoint that you have been sent. It is the Analysing Data in Spreadsheets PowerPoint. And our objective today is to understand how we can use Excel, or in our case, Google Sheets, to analyse large quantities of data using formulas, which we're going to use a lot for our secondary data, and graphs, which we are going to present our data with. Okay. Now, just a quick little recap of your maths unit, which you have just finished. Remind me how we calculate, please, a mean. And a mean is a type of average. What do we have to do to get a mean? Can you remind me how you calculate a percentage? Do you remember how to calculate a percentage? If you don't, you need to look this up, okay? Because percentages are going to be really important to us today. And we're going to look at totals. How do we calculate a total? We just simply add it up, okay? So, back in lesson 2, we said when we're conducting our investigation, we would do it in the following way. We would conduct our investigation in 2 parts for our 2 hypotheses. Our first hypothesis was to investigate whether or not Preston Manor is as diverse as the London Borough of Brent. Now, in order to do that, you can't just go around asking people, is Preston Manor diverse? That's not good enough, okay? It's not very concrete. It's not very reliable information just to ask people's opinions. So what we did is we got you some secondary data. We actually have real data from Preston Manor about where our students come from, or where they say they come from when they filled out that form when they first joined school. And we're going to give this to you today. It's one of the attachments to this assignment. We're also going to compare that data. Once we've analysed it and got our results out of it, we're going to compare that to the data that Brent Council say that is valid for our whole borough. Our second investigation question, which is going to be lesson 4B, the impact of migration and diversity on Preston Manor School. Well, when we're talking about the impact of it, we're asking people here we do want to know people's opinions on whether or not migration and diversity has been a good thing for Preston Manor. So we've collected our own primary data using a questionnaire to investigate people's perceptions. What do they think about diversity at Preston Manor? So, looking at our 2 types of data, primary and secondary, if you look on the 16th page of your booklet, I'm going to say 16? No, not 16, the 10th page of your booklet. So on page 10 of your booklet, you have a grid at the top that looks like this, okay? Now, that is the sort of overall, this is all lesson 4, yeah? The questionnaire for your primary data, you need to create a variety of different data presentations over here. We're going to create a Wordle or a word cloud. We're going to do a pie chart and a column chart, a bar chart. Okay, so all of those things. Now, I'm actually going to show you how to do that in lesson 4B. But today, what we're going to look at is this stuff, the secondary data, because I think this stuff is a bit harder. Okay, and I want to give you a bit more time to do it. So, here's how lesson 4A is going to go. 10 for that little table down here. The next couple of pages in your booklet are either instructions or space for you to stick in your graphs. When you get to page 16 in your booklet, however, you get this little thing. Now, this is where you're going to show the results of the data we're analysing today. But to be able to fill in this bottom bit here, where you know the percentage of people in Preston Manor that have come from the European Union and different categories of the European Union, who have come from the Middle East, who have come from South Asian countries or North African countries, we actually have to really start with the original data. We need it to come into this format here simply because we want to compare it to this information here. And this information at the top here, as you can see, says London Borough of Brent diversity data. This is how diverse most people in Brent are. So to compare us at Preston Manor with Brent overall, we need results that look the same as that. So we're going to process and analyse our data to find these answers. And you've been provided with your own copy of the data set to manipulate and analyse. When you click on that data set, you will open it up in Sheets and you will find the following things. You're going to find a long list of data on the students in our school countries of origin. You're going to find a step-by-step instruction list, which looks like this, which I'm going to take you through today. And you're going to find two results tables that look like this. So there's two of them. The first one is for the numbers, okay, once you've added up where everyone's come from. And the second table is for when you calculate the percentage. So I said at the beginning, percentages were going to be really important, okay? So you're going to calculate the percentages by region of where our students come from. So before we get any further, let's have a think about Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. They work very, very similarly. So I'm just going to take you through the absolute basics. To start off with, what is Excel? Okay, it is a program, or what is Sheets? It's a program that allows us to manipulate data, to collect data, okay, and to even start to model some results, okay? And if you're thinking about who would use Excel and why, this list is miles long. As a teacher, I use Excel and Sheets to analyse student data, to find out how you're doing, to see if things are changing over time. If I worked for the government, I would have data on all kinds of things, whether that's flooding, the amount of rainfall, even at the moment with coronavirus, we would have spreadsheets and loads of data on who's ill, how long they've been ill for, when did they get infected, have they recovered or have they died? All of that kind of data can be analysed using Excel. We're doing something quite simple with it today, but it is such an important skill. So when we look at Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, it will always look like this. And these little boxes, okay, are called cells, okay? It's an odd word, like a jail cell, okay? This little box is called a cell. This line that goes across, as with any table, we call it a row, okay? We call it a row, it begins with an R, and the rows in Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel are always numbered down the left-hand side there. This bit here then, where we're going vertically, the line that's going down, okay, it begins with a C, just in any table, that is a column, okay? So when we want to look at a particular box, okay, or cell, we are going to say its location is made up of two parts. It's made up of a letter and a number. The letter always comes first, and you've got to think of this just like when you do coordinates or grid references, okay? Along the corridor and up the stairs is how we often do it on a graph. Here we're saying along the corridor, okay, and then down the stairs, down to the number. So this particular cell, anybody got an idea of what we will call it? This cell is B3, okay? So we're going to go to the B, we're going to see that it's in row 3, and so it is B3. Now, we could play a little game with this, okay? If I asked you where Arsenal was, where would it be? Okay, and how about the moon? Right, that's in D4. And if I wanted to know where 27 was, that is in A4, Okay, so you need to be confident with this, because in order to be able to use Excel, you need to be able to say where all your information is, and it's all got a unique location identifying code through these grid references. Okay, now to analyze our data, we need to use something called a formula. Now, a formula is maybe a word that we don't come across very often. If we have, maybe it's in science. How many of you have heard of formula in maths though? That's what I would like to know, because a formula is simply a calculation. It's how we work something out. So if you have a scientific formula, maybe a formula with elements in it, or the formula for photosynthesis, it tells you that process, what you put in, and then what comes out at the other end. Okay? Now in Excel, our calculations need to do pretty much the same things we would do with them in maths. Yeah? We're going to times, divide, subtract, add things together, all of that. Okay? Now, every formula in Excel needs to begin with something. Okay? And what it needs to begin with is an equal sign. Okay? It will not work. Your little sum won't work. Your formula won't work unless you put an equal sign at the beginning. Okay? So we're going to have a think about some basic symbols, some symbols that you should feel pretty confident with. Okay? So this symbol here, it's a, and what does it do? So it's a plus sign, and it adds things together. It literally is adding this box to that box. So I could add B3 to B4, and it would add the two numbers in those boxes together. Okay? What about this one? Easy peasy. It's a minus sign, and that is going to do what function? It's going to subtract things. Okay? So that is going to subtract things. And I literally, again, I could go the number in B4 minus the number in B3 gives me what? This one's a little bit harder, okay? This is a symbol that we don't have on the keyboard unless we use it like a letter. So we've had to replace it with something, okay? And what we've done here is we've said that this is the multiplication symbol, okay? The multiplication symbol is actually a star in Excel. And that's because we've got a row, okay, and a column, and in those columns with the letters on, we're going to have an X in there. So we don't want to get things confused. We want to use something different, okay, for our time symbol. And finally, of course, you can probably guess what this one's going to be. That is a divide sign, okay. Yes, it is a forward slash, okay, but that also indicates divide in our Excel model, okay. So let's have a look at the spreadsheet that you're going to get, and we'll come back to those formulas. This is the spreadsheet that you have got, okay? And let's just have a look at what we've got here. We've got our instructions, yeah? We've got our data, which is here. And we've got these two tables where we're going to put our results. Now, we're going to start off with our first instruction, completing the region column for the missing cells or boxes, okay? And what we notice here is that a couple of these countries haven't actually got the right regions in them, okay? I need to work out what these regions should have been, because although I've got individual countries here in column A, I actually have to present my data by region of the world, not by individual country. So if I'm going to do that, I need to know where they are. So for instance, the Philippines is in Southeast Asia. Thailand is in Southeast Asia. Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and India, they all count as South Asia, not Southeast Asia. So South Africa, what region could it be in? Well, it kind of tells us in the name that's in Africa, but if I go and look at my data over here, I've got two areas of Africa. I've got North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. Where do you think South Africa is? If we were looking at a map, is it in North Africa? Very much not. So it must be in that other category. It is in Sub-Saharan Africa. And actually, if we were doing that for all of these countries, Somalia is south of the Sahara, isn't it? It's underneath the Sahara. Nigeria, also underneath the Sahara. So Sudan, Zimbabwe, all of those countries there, they are Sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm going to fill that in. Let me see if there's any other missing data here. Aha. So Egypt, Libya, and Morocco. Again, African countries, but in a different region. We are going to say that these guys are in North Africa. So we're going to put North Africa there. And now our data set is going to be complete. Now you may have noticed me do this just a moment ago. You see this little square down here in the corner? It lets me drag the same information into the box below. Okay, so I've just done that to make things a bit quicker for me. So you sort of click on it and hold it down and drag it down. Okay, so I'm done with this one. Wonderful. Let's fill that with green. Okay, finding the total numbers of pupils in row 50. So now I'm going to go down row 50. Okay, so I've got numbers of pupils in column C, don't I? And I've got all those numbers, but I need the total of them. Aha, so the total of number of pupils. Now, I could sit here with a calculator and add them all up, couldn't I? But that is going to defeat the point of using such an amazing program as Excel. I'm going to use my formula. So I've got to think, what about my formulas did we just learn? Well, we learned that they had to begin with an equals sign, equals. Now, I could go equals and then say this box here. That box there is C because it's in column C, and it's C49 because it's in row 49. And I could put a plus sign for that one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. But let's be honest, we're going to have to put 49 of them in there. So although I can do this, right now I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use a bit of a shortcut, okay? Now, the shortcut I'm going to use is called a sum formula, okay? So this is the total number of students. In the total bar, you put the following formula. Now, I'm just going to walk you through it. The equal sign makes it a formula, as we've said already. This word here, sum, is like a shortcut to say, add all of these things up. The sum of C2, and then I've got this colon. The colon means all the way through to, so it's everything from C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, and onwards, all the way through to C29, okay? So instead of adding all of these up manually, as I have been doing down here, okay, I'm going to just remove those and I'm going to use my sum. Now, you'll notice as I type this in, the sheets are trying to help me. It's saying, we think you want to do sum a series of numbers and cells. And they are right. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put things in brackets because otherwise it won't work. So sum brackets. And I want to go, this is giving me the sort of model of how to do it. Okay. I want to go all the way. So I'm going to scroll to the top. From C2, which is South Africa, and I'm going to hold and drag my mouse to include all of the numbers, oh, not too far, up to C49, okay? Then I've got to close my brackets and press enter. So the data we are looking at is not every single student in the school, okay? It's just most of the students in the upper school. And we are looking at the information, the data from 1,360 pupils in the upper school, okay? So let's go back to the top of our list and say we know how many pupils there are in total on this spreadsheet now, okay? So we've done that in row 50. Now I want to calculate the percentage of pupils from each country in column D. Now, I've left the first one done for you to make this a little bit easier, and we're going to go back and look at our formula. So, to work out percentages, we have to do the following, okay? Now, this is something that I feel people don't always remember how to do, work out percentages, okay? You take the total number of values that you are looking at, you take the number of values that you want to work out the percentage of, and you divide one by the other, okay? And then once you have that number, you want to times it by 100 to make it a percentage. So let's see. For South African pupils, there is one pupil who say they're South African in the school out of 1,360, okay? And so I'm literally in this box, I've got a formula because I'm referring to the other boxes. I could have typed, right, equals 1 divided by 1,360, okay? And that will give me the same answer. So I'll click that and you can see it's exactly the same answer. But what I'm doing here is, instead of just doing that, 1 divided by 1,360, okay, and then clicking that lovely percentage button up here, so it says this is a percentage, okay, I'm actually using a formula which tells me which boxes I'm looking at. The box that I'm looking at is C2, okay, because that's the number of pupils. And then I've got a divide sign, and then I've got this. So I'd zoom in on it a little bit. C2 is the box that I'm looking at, okay. I've got a divide sign, my forward slash, and then I've got something weird. I've got a $C, a $50. Now, clearly the C50 refers to one particular box. Let's go to C50 and see if we can see what that was. So what's in C50? We're in column C, we're down in row 50. C50 is the total number of pupils. Now, in answer to the question of what these dollar signs are doing, they are fixing my cell reference. They are keeping it in place. So this is the formula that you want to use, okay? And it will make it a lot quicker if you do this. So if I use that formula, I'm saying I want C2 divided by C50, and I want it formatted as a percentage, okay? If I drag that, remember we did this little dragging motion? If I drag that, it will calculate it for all of these other rows. Now let's look at the next one that's really different. For Nigeria, we say we have 15 pupils from Nigeria, okay? And if I look carefully in this box, I can see that this says C6, which is my 15 Nigerian pupils, divided by, but still C50, okay? Because the number of pupils hasn't changed box. It's just the first box, the first reference that I want to move. So I'm going to just drag those all the way down to the bottom so that I can see how many or what percentage of our pupils are from different countries. Now, as you will have noticed, I hope, these are all one country by one country, but my data here needs to show me them by their region. So we're going to mark item 3 as done because we have now worked out the percentage of pupils from each country in column D. Now we're going to look at the total number of pupils per region, and we're going to put them into the table below, the first table below. So this one says number by region. So from the old EU, I have to find that here. Okay, this is the region old EU, okay? And we're going to add up, we want to add up all of those. Now, if you can't remember what the formula was for adding up those things, it was equals. So we're up in here, we want our results, we want equals, and then we want to add this down to this, okay? Now if I just do that, oh, it didn't work. I'm missing something. I haven't actually put the add sign in there, and because I haven't put in, I could have done it like this. I could have gone this one, add this one, add this one, add this one, okay, remember? But again, we said that there was a quicker way of doing this, so you can do it both ways. We're going to say sum, and then we're going to drag our line down to include all of those. Now, you might have noticed I missed out the last one. This one says the United Kingdom is also in the old European Union, and that is true. However, it is also over here on a separate box. Okay, so I want to be very careful, because actually what I want this one to be is this United Kingdom number. Yeah? Dear. Can you see that my total down here is changing? I actually did that formula for you to add up all of those columns there to show you which numbers there were, okay, so what the total was by the time you get into there. Eventually then this number here should show me the total number of pupils, okay, 1,360 pupils, okay. So I've done the first one, the old EU example of calculating the number of pupils per region, okay. Now I want to know the percentage of pupils per region, and it is very, very much the same thing, okay. For the old EU pupils, I want to say this is 46 pupils divided by 1,360 pupils, and I've got this decimal number. Now, I would have to times that to make a percentage by 100, wouldn't I? Okay, and I can do that here. Use my times sign. But if I also want to use the cleverness of Google Sheets, if I go back to my original decimal point, I can use this little button up here. It says, tell me it as a percentage. And that will be it as a percentage. Okay, so now we've done 4 and 5. Repeat that process again for the Ascension countries, again for Bulgaria and Romania, and for the rest of these different regions. Okay, the only one that doesn't actually have any results is Oceania. Okay, we don't have any pupils, it would seem, from Oceania. Okay, so for items 6 and 7, I'm going to show you how to do that in lesson 4B. We said we were going to create graphs in lesson 4B. So for creating our pie graph and creating our geochart, we're going to do that in lesson 4B. Okay, good luck with it. Obviously ask questions if you need it, but this video is here to help you.